Thanks so much for joining us, guys. I'm so excited to have Rebekah Scott. She is out on the farm, and she'll, I'm sure, tell you a little bit more about that. So we're glad to have pulled her out of her studio for a couple minutes to talk to you about mentoring. So, Rebekah, I have gotten the pleasure to work with you and spend time with you over the last couple of years. For those who do not know you or are not familiar with your brand, if you would give just, I know it's so hard to say just a few minutes to kind of explain your story, but if you would do that to give us a sense of who you are and the background that you're coming to this conversation with, that would be great.
Awesome. I am Rebekah Scott, and I own Rebekah Scott Designs, and we sew purses and accessories. And the unique thing about what I do is that we allow our customers to design their own. So they get to pick the fabric, the inside, the leather, the zipper, the style, and everything. So that's what I get to do all day. But leading up to how I got to that is I've been creating since I was little. My mom is like a master seamstress, you name it, she could sew it. So I was always around her, kind of like playing with her scraps, and just loved the creative process. My mom was singing, she was happy, so I liked being in that environment, and that just kind of spoke to me. So I started sewing next to her, but literally I started with a stapler and Kleenexes because I think I was ready for a sewing machine. So I was like, well, fine, then I'll just make my own sewing machine. I think that's really funny. Like, if it's in you, it's in you. And so then I did it all throughout high school and college, just sewing things for myself. And I always liked bags in particular because I could wear the $4 shirt from Walmart when we're poor in college. But if I had a really cute bag, then that would be my little boost of confidence, or like I qualified somehow. And so I just kept at that. And I actually have a degree in radio and TV broadcasting, which I've used in my other business, which is a podcast and a book. But anyways, even throughout radio, it just still was not creative enough. And I still found myself, if I was down, I would go to the creating, go back to creating, go back to something. So I told my husband, gosh, I need to just do this. And so we became debt free. And he said, okay, you can launch. And I'd already sewed some purses for Christmas because we were poor newlyweds, and I didn't know what I would do for all the women on my list. And I thought, well, I'll sew purses because I loved purses. And then I started getting orders. And I thought, oh, this will be fun. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I can do this, like every entrepreneur, I'm gonna quit right now. And Nick was like, no, who's my husband? Like, let's just get a few things under our belt. So we did become debt free, and then I launched it like immediately, stayed up till 2 a.m. sewing, got back up at 6 a.m. and kept at it. And so now we've been in business for 15 years, believe it or not. Started with me doing absolutely everything, and now I have a team of about 20 women helping me manage everything. But I personally, still my happy place behind the counter, creating and designing.
I love that. And I'm so glad you mentioned your mom right away, because from stories you shared with me, especially in the career you've chosen now, she played a huge role in mentoring you. And you've been part of other organizations that have where you found mentors as well. If you want to talk just a little about like, what is mentoring to you? What does that look like? Or what maybe needs to be true in a mentorship relationship?
I think, like, at the core, mentoring is a woman that helps another woman who's been down a familiar path.
Mm.
So it doesn't even necessarily have to be the same medium, like sewing purses, or somebody who is really good with like a total different business. I can't even think of one, but I think it's just a woman that's been on a similar path that you go, wait, she's doing something right.
Yeah.
I gotta find what that is. And so to me, mentoring is just asking another woman on a similar path, or that she's been on one, how to help each other.
Why do you think you have gravitated? I mean, you were nominated for a Woman of the Week. Why do you think you gravitated towards mentoring other women? And like you said, you mentor women in a lot of different industries. But what do you think drew you to that?
I think because I always don't want to make the same mistake twice. And like I have a natural like knack for, I love learning, but I also, to me, mentoring meant I could avoid some side steps that would be either cost me a lot of money or a lot of time, both of which I don't have. I'm a mom of four.
Hmm.
And I can find the right people and they can tell me how they did it or explain a few things, then I could avoid some like burnout expense, which are all things that I want to avoid. So that's kind of what led me down mentoring. And I always had women in my life, thankfully, not all, but really encouraging me and saying, your story sounds similar to so and so. Let me get you two connected. And I just leapt onto that. And it does take a little bit, I think, in terms of being humble enough to just say, like, I can't do all this. Like, especially if you're in your first year and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I can't do all this. The first thing you need to start saying is, well, who's done this and who can help me?
And what led you to mentor other women to be called to do that?
Yeah, only because like I had this very distinct moment in a parking lot in Hy-Vee, which is like grocery stores here in the Midwest. I will never forget it. Rolled up and I have four kiddos. It was like no, it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. So not ridiculously early. 9 o'clock in the morning, hair and makeup on, outfit on. It's the morning we run all of our errands. All my girls had their hair done, clothes on, blah blah. One of the seamstresses that works for me rolled into the parking lot in her minivan, and it was like a scene. The kids were buckled in. They all had their PJs on, hair a mess. She was the same way, like a tracksuit on, hair pulled back, and big old sunglasses. And we met to exchange product. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, tell me this is not how you really are." Because I looked a little together, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, 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 I'm not like this all the time." And immediately felt a punch in my gut because I was being falsely humble. The truth is, I really do have it fairly together. I mean, we all have those mornings. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not serving this woman by painting a picture that isn't true. I need to tell her or help her see that this is a possible. And so that's why I started podcasting, is to say, like, you guys, I'm no different than you. I've just figured out some systems that really work, and I want to help everybody I possibly can avoid a scene that people tell us we should be when we hold, like, we're business owners and we're moms. It's going to be messy and chaotic. And I thought, no, it does not have to be. And so I wanted to mentor women to tell them there's a different way.
I love that. I got goosebumps from you just talking about. I think you're really connect to the idea of the authenticity and how important that is when you talk about that in a mentor-mentee relationship. Is going away from being the pridefully humble and having honest, open conversation with each other. And even if sometimes that is, no, I have wisdom that I can pass on to you. um, yeah, I think that's so important.
Or
Are there
pass on to, like, don't do this.
Yeah,
Like, equally as important is like, oh, okay, got it. I won't try that.
yeah. So are there other than that authenticity and that honesty, are there other things that you think are really important or crucial to having a successful exchange in a mentor-mentee relationship?
I think it needs to be, you when you receive mentorship from somebody, that you're also able to offer them value. Because sometimes it's not like a money exchange or a project exchange, but that when they offer you something, that you're able to say, that is awesome. Is there anything that I can add value to what you're working on? Is there any that I could possibly give you? And in a humbled way, like, I'm nowhere near where you are maybe, but I have some experience in things. Is there any way I can help you? I think it's important to do that, to like elevate your own self-esteem of, well, I've been through a few things, maybe I can offer them something. And then just the equal exchange of, I always think, everybody you already need to know. And so by extending value, you're meeting people.
Yeah, and that's a great way to think about too, learning from each other in that relationship is having the confidence to say, I do have something to offer. Um, why do you think that mentoring, Becca, isn't more common? Why do you think that we don't see more in, men or women, but specifically, geared towards women, mentoring women?
I think mostly because we're just prideful human beings, and we think, and maybe not even that. It's not even like we're like, well, I don't need any help, because I'd like to think that a lot of the women in my life don't say that. But what we do say is, I don't want to appear that I can't do it all, because I've set it up myself that I can do it all. So God forbid I should admit, wait, I bit off more than I can chew. So we're like not going to admit it. We're just going to stay up till 2 a.m. and survive on 3 hours of sleep. Okay, not doable and not smart. So I think the reason we hesitate is a little bit of pride of, well, if I set this up, I decided to have four kids, I decided to have a business and blah, 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 then I'm the one that needs to do it. But we need to say, okay, I did set this up, and now who's going to help me get there, and stop thinking you
Mm.
have to solely on your shoulders.
Mhm.
I think that's why we hesitate mostly, and we're not sure about if we have anything to offer, which is why I say that value thing is like, well, if I get a mentor, I have nothing to tell them. That's not true either.
Yeah. And I see that, and I see where the accountability, even in my own relationships with mentors, is so valuable. What do you think some of the potential upsides are, um, specifically, maybe speaking towards female entrepreneurs, that like, how do you think female entrepreneurs would benefit from having a mentor if they maybe don't already have that type of relationship in their life?
For sure, accelerated growth.
Mm.
Because, like, I think all the things I learned were mostly by mistakes. And so when I started thinking, can I learn anything that's not expensive and that didn't spend too much time on mentoring? Like, if you want to avoid those, get a mentor somewhere near your field, experience, and that sort of thing. It's just accelerated growth and strategic growth when you have a mentor.
I love that. That's, I think, a huge piece of what people are missing. But just like you were saying, going back to um, some of the reasons why they don't feel compelled to do that, it's so important to get over some of those things to meet someone around you who can help you through that. What do you wish? I'm just looking at my questions here. What do you wish that women understood about mentoring, or if there's some sort of misconception, maybe, that you think that there is about mentorship?
Um, it doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot, but when it does cost, it's worth every penny. So if you can look at it like like, and then this is going to sound so cheesy, but like an investment in your future. I can't even tell you how much, like, every single penny will be returned to you 100-fold, whatever this mentoring relationship is. And even if it's not a monetary mentorship, but the time that you spend with this person will return to you 100-fold when you trust this person and you're okay with being coached and humbled enough to be mentored. 100% will be returned to you. Did I answer the question? I'm trying to think of.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that thinking about that return on investment, not just in dollars and cents, but in some of the other aspects, I think that's something that not everyone looks at or thinks about when they think about mentorship and the investment in it.
Too, like, it's you will avoid some terrible mistakes by just asking. It doesn't even have to be the right questions, but just starting a conversation. You're like, I would have totally done this if I didn't know that. So, like, avoiding mistakes, it just saves time and money.
Yeah. It, and this is totally off the cuff, so I'm so sorry for putting you on the spot. Is there anything you think you could point to of a mistake or even advice that a mentor gave you that prevented you from making a mistake in your business or going down a path, or spending more time going down kind of the wrong path?
That one. So I get the honor of meeting with Alluvio monthly. Used to be bi-monthly for a while as I was in this big surge of growth and awesomeness. So I tell Clint, I'm like, I'm gonna build a barn, like, now. And he's like, okay, which is typical of my personality, like impulsiveness. Okay, let's set up a plan. I'll set up a plan, but I have the idea and now we're gonna execute. Because of course, entrepreneur is super action oriented. Here we go. All you got to do is think of it, right? So I had a gentleman come out that kind of looked at the space I wanted to build it on, kind of talked me through some numbers, and I knew some numbers because I had already contacted my own builder and thought through a little bit about where the seamstresses would go, the business model, who would be involved, if I'd have to get an investor, blah blah blah. And that's stuff that I knew a ton about, but enough that I'm like, okay, I can have this initial meeting. Well, he came out and he was like, the building you just drew and planned is, I think he said, $1 million building. And I was like, oh, fancy Morton building. So I was way off on that. And just like, I'm not sure that you're clear enough on who your focus is for the space. Because right now you're making for your employees and your seamstresses, but they are not keep the lights on. It's your customers. So tell me more about why this barn would serve the people paying for the lights to be up. And I was like, I couldn't answer. So it was one of those, if I hadn't had Clint in my life who gently, well, Clint and Lauren, who were like, okay, you want to build a barn? Let's play this out a little bit. Let's see how this will go. And they held my hand and we met. And afterwards, I was like, holy crap, you guys, I can't build this barn yet. And they were like, okay, no, but we're not going to discourage growth. They always let me go through the thoughts in my mind and encourage me to think through bigger development things, but not necessarily like execute on them. But yes, think big, play that out. And then we'll even play with you and think of some things that we could do to stop that, but then also gently like letting me fall, not on the concrete. Like, let's pursue that growth that you want for that barn. How are we going to pursue that growth in another way? So otherwise, if I hadn't had Alluvio, because of the nature of who I am and because of my relationships on the farm with bankers and whatever, I seriously could have built a barn. I could have just built a barn and been like, all right, you will come is probably what I would have told everybody. Yeah, so I was grateful those relationships have been set up, and even more grateful that God allowed it to be people like Lauren and Clint that weren't like, duh, we told you. Not at all. In fact, it was more like, awesome idea. How can we get there? So
I'm so glad that you use that example, because that has also become a goal. I mean, not just something that you thought about and forgot, but now it's this carrot hanging out there.
yes, here's the barn layout, and I will be getting there.
Exactly. And so that has become your dangling carrot for growth, for the impact that you get to make in all the women's lives who will get to visit the barn. And so it is so great to think about, and we revisit that in our meetings, is how close are we to the barn, and that's what we get excited about. So that's a great example. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with some of our ladies watching? Maybe they're on the fence about taking the leap into identifying a mentor in their life.
I would say, first off, the phrase hire someone smarter than you. Mentoring is not necessarily a hiring thing, but keep asking questions. You already know everybody you need to know. I truly believe that. That's from an author that I just follow habitually, and I love it. But so if you already know everybody you need to know, what is your question and who do you think might be able to answer it? And that might be a beautiful, valuable relationship that you can also give to. And even though we think that we are superwoman and the world tells us that we can do everything, which we totally can't, but superwomen had some pretty awesome sidekicks. So we're gonna need some side gigs, and heroes always start out weak. So if you want to be the true hero, admit that you're weak so that you can start becoming the strong person that you need to be, and that is totally 100% through mentors.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Becca, for joining us today and for taking time from your busy schedule. Is today a surging day for you, or what's
today? Art application for like huge places. You guys have never done this. I'm filling out for New York, Philadelphia, DC. It's art application time.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we will be coming to see everyone out there as well. Awesome. Thanks so much, Rebekah. Appreciate your time, and we'll chat with you soon.